Hello, I'm Diane Dressback, and I have Melissa Farley with me. And today we are doing an interview with Nitara Osbourne, and has written a chapter for our book From Us for You. Inspiring stories of healing, growth, and transformation. I'm still learning that title there. So.
It's a mouthful, our title.
It is a
I know.
mouthful. Oh, so anyway, thank you for joining us today, Nitara. And
Thank you.
I was trying to think back of when we met, and I think I got it. It was back in 2008 when I was working at Steve Wargo's production company, and
Has it been that long?
Yeah, I think it has been, because that's when I was working for him during 2008. And I think that you came in and I met you then. I think that's when it was. So
I was wondering, I was trying to trace that time period also. I just know that you're a well-respected person in the industry, and we've connected and we stayed connected on social media. But yeah, I was trying to think back, when did we actually meet? So I'm glad that you pinpointed that.
Yeah, I'm like, I think that's when it was. So anyway,
right.
So why don't you just give us a little bit of an introduction to who you are and what you do, and just whatever you'd like to tell us.
Okay. Well, my name is Nitara Osbourne, and I am a full-time writer and loving it. I work full-time for a nationwide company, creating their content, but I also own my own writing agency. And just this year, last year, I was actually able to bring on 3 other people because I've gotten so busy. So unfortunately, I know the pandemic has been, 2020 has been a tough year for many people. I've just been I've been very fortunate to be in a position to where I was able to actually have a lot of business and be able to help a lot of people. So it's been great. So anyway, I own my own writing agency, and I work full time for a nationwide company writing content.
That's very impressive. And that's really cool that you used your blessings to bless other people by bringing them on board with you as part of this writing journey. So that's really great. So we don't want to give too much away about your chapter, but give us kind of the elevator pitch of what your chapter's about. What did you decide to share?
Well, I wanted to share what it meant to go from where I was as this person who really wanted to just be a successful person, graduating high school, to to actually being a successful writer. And it ended up being a chapter on, well, what my journey was to actually becoming a successful writer. And so uh, the chapter is basically, it follows that, and I try to be as brief as I possibly can. I did have to definitely shorten my chapter a lot, based on the feedback that I got from Diane. But yeah, it's basically the story of my writer's journey, on how I became a writer and was able to actually make a living doing it. So many people don't feel like they can make a living writing. They feel like that's some unattainable goal. And I set out to prove to myself that I can do it. And I'm just very grateful that I'm actually able to experience that right now.
So I have to ask you, since you're a professional writer, was the experience different than, like, you write, content for this big company? Was it different for you to write about your own story and have that be the subject?
No, actually, I love writing all kinds of, I love writing in different mediums. I really do. And so being able to write content for the company that I work for is amazing. So I get an opportunity to, write blogs, and to be able to write sales pitchy type of material, but then turning around to be able to ghostwrite for people is, it's an honor, really, that they trust me to share their voice. And then to turn around to answer your question, to be able to write my own material is exhilarating. So my favorite type of writing, of course, is screenwriting. I love making up stories. I love creating. And so being able to write my own story, it brought me back to that for some reason. Even though, yes, it wasn't a made up story, but it felt like it was my own, and it was creating again. And so I enjoy that part of the process, just creating material.
Absolutely. So I think your topic is so powerful right now because there's so many people in life that want to do exactly what you're talking about, find something that they love and do it full time. And people really struggle with this. You know, they get caught in corporate jobs that they hate and they feel like they can't transition and all these things going on. So when people read your chapter, what is it that you hope they walk away with? What is it? What's the gift that you are hoping to impart with your experience that you shared?
That you can have the things that you want, but you have to create tangible goals in order to actually get them. So many people dream about so many things, and they always say someday something's going to happen. But nothing happens unless you take action. And I'm just hoping that what people get out of all the failures that I shared in my chapter, I hope they understood that those were actions that were taken, and they were very painful at times, but I needed them in order to get to where I am now. Obviously, if I would have just dreamt about something and never actually took that first step, nothing would have happened. And so I'm hoping that what people get out of it is that if you take action, you can make great things happen for yourself.
Absolutely. Yeah. And you actually just hit on my favorite interview question. And that is you said that in your chapter you shared about some failures. And I love when people share about their failures because I feel like we get to learn so much from those experiences and learn these really valuable things. So can you share just maybe one failure that you've experienced in your life that you learned from and were able to kind of do something different the next time or figure something out because of that failure?
Well, yeah, there's so many of them, but you said one. I got wrapped up in the idea that I needed an agent, a literary agent, in order to be successful. Because I always, well, not always, but because at the beginning that's what I actually believed. I actually put all of my focus and energy on finding an agent. And yeah, I did some writing, so I had to do that, but I was all about finding an agent. And what I realized when I came across my mentor is that I had to create my own opportunities. My own opportunities is exactly the opportunities that I created for myself is exactly what drew people to me. So I do have a literary agent now, but he's on the East Coast and he's for books, not for screenplays. And it feels good. It felt good to have that accomplishment. But the only reason that I even got that was because I ended up creating my own opportunities. And so, as far as the failures are concerned, it was in my own mind. That was the main problem. I was so hung up on feeling like I needed this one person in order to be successful instead of focusing on what I had directly in front of me. And what I had in front of me was a talent that was given, but I needed to hone. I needed to get to be a better writer. So yeah, I was given this talent, but it did need to be improved upon. So I had to continue writing. I needed to learn the industry a little bit more, the film industry, and I needed to develop a network. So those are things that I was able to do. And because of that, I was able to overcome basically the mind block of thinking that there's one person out there who was standing in my way of success. That was the problem that was standing in the way of my success, my thinking that I needed that one person, and it had nothing to do with them.
So this is kind of a tangential question then. So, even in industries like writing and the film industry that seem a little bit intangible, there's usually steps in people's mind, like you were talking about, I got to get an agent, I got to get these headshots, and I got to have so many things on my reel, and like do this, do this, do this, do this, and then I reach success. Um, is that what you're referencing when you're talking about setting, goals, or did you do kind of what you talked about a little bit earlier and made your own opportunities? Like, how did you navigate that?
Yeah, well, for one, well, as a writer, a lot of people call themselves whatever it is that they're wanting. They call themselves aspiring writers or aspiring entrepreneurs. But honestly, taking the action, like I was saying before, is what makes you whatever it is that you are working towards being successful at. So for me, I had to call myself a writer early on, even if I wasn't produced, even if I wasn't published. And so now I am produced and I am published, but I was calling myself a writer before that. I was already taking the necessary steps in order to get to where I wanted to be. For me, what was most important is to make sure that in terms of setting goals, that I knew what I wanted, and then I had to come up with a plan in order to get there. And I do this to this day. Sometimes those plans don't pan out and I need to change, switch gears and figure it out. And sometimes the goal might shift. But what's important is to actually have a tangible goal that you can actually accomplish. For example, somebody could say that I dream of being a writer. Great. Well, what does that look like? So a tangible goal would be, I want to have a screenplay done. I want to have a feature-length screenplay done by the end of 2021. That's a specific goal. And then you work backwards and then you set your own schedule for how that needs to look in order for that to happen. Otherwise, you'll be this person who will say, one day I'll write a screenplay. But if you actually set a tangible goal in place, you can actually accomplish that. So just doing things like that. And the same as if, if you're selling a screenplay, I'm going to sell the screenplay. Well, what are some of your options? Is this going to be you going to screenplay competitions? Are you going to go do more networking? What does that actually look like? I think a lot of people fail because they keep it very ambiguous. And the more ambiguous you are with your dreams or your goals, the less likely you're going to actually accomplish them, because you don't actually know what that looks like. And even though you don't always know the how for everything that you dream about, having something tangible in place actually allows you to create a plan, even if that plan is not good, or even if it is not thorough. At least it's something so that you can take action. And as you move forward, you're going to run into people who are going to help you. And then you're going to learn a little something. And then you might have to revamp the plan a little bit, but it's always based on the actions that you've taken.
I mean, is that something that you learned and figured out on your own, or did you have people in your life, mentors, or maybe other people that inspired you that you kind of learned this model from? I mean, how did you kind of adapt these practices into your life?
I've had so many people who have influenced me. My partner, Dana, she used to own her own business, and she's always giving me business advice. And she owned her own business and had a 6-figure income in her early 20s. So I admire her and respect her a lot. And so she's definitely had a huge influence on me, just with being focused and business oriented and going out there and getting more contacts and connecting with people. My parents were huge influences on me with getting a college education. I appreciate the college education that I have. I don't think I appreciated it at the time, but now I absolutely do. It's given me an experience that has actually contributed to me being able to teach screenwriting at the college level. So everything that I have done, it has been influenced by people in my life, and all the little pieces of the puzzle have added up to create something that actually makes sense once it's all together. And right now I understand why everything had to happen the way that it did. I needed my college degree in order to be able to teach screenwriting. Me teaching screenwriting fed and having the energy of my students, I fed off of that energy, and they fed off of my energy, and it propelled me to where I am now. I love teaching, and the same with any other people that have been in my life. One of my mentors that I had was basically instrumental in not only giving me my first paycheck as a writer in 2005, but he also was the one who encouraged me to produce my own movie. Okay. I wrote my fifth screenplay was a personal story, and I was trying to pitch it to Hollywood, and nothing was happening. I had a female director who got excited about it, but told me that I needed to change my ending. And I got rejected by several investors, and it was a lot. And I went to my mentor, and he told me that nobody believes that you could do this because you haven't done it. You have to prove to people that you can do this. And he said, why don't you shoot a trailer, pull some scenes from the movie and just shoot a trailer. I listened to him. I went $17,000 in debt, but a lot of belief. And we ended up winning a few Telly Awards because of that. But I also ended up getting the funding for the movie, and we ended up shooting the whole movie. And that movie was instrumental in not only getting me my teaching positions at the colleges that I taught at, but also in in getting me the job that I have now, and in starting my own writing agency. And I just see how everything is very connected, just because of the people who've influenced me in my life.
What a remarkable story too, and an example of what you're talking about, of like, you wanted to make this movie, which feels like this really big, almost overwhelming, ambiguous thing, and then you had somebody in your life tell you, well, bring it down, make it a smaller, actionable goal to make this
Right.
trailer.
Right.
Right. And you did that, and then it gave you forward motion. That's such a huge testimony to what you're talking about. So that's really cool.
Exactly.
So I gotta ask, I see trophies all in the background.
Yeah.
Are those yours? Or those your
They are
partners?
mine.
Like, what are they for?
Those are the Tully Awards for my movie. So we got 3 Tully Awards for the trailer, teaser, and then I did a promotional trailer after we shot the whole movie. We created another trailer from there. So those are those awards. And the books underneath there are books that are best-selling books by clients of mine, and so that we've edited. So I'm really proud of just being a part of other people's stories, and as well as my own.
That's amazing. You've accomplished so much. So I have to ask you, what does 5 years from now look like for you? 5 years from now, what are you doing? Where you're at? What are you working on?
Well, 5 years from now, I honestly would love to be writing screenplays full time. That's what I would love to be doing. And whatever that looks like income wise, I would let it look that way. And what I mean by that is, a lot of people think, well, I'm going to go write screenplays now and I'll make millions of dollars. So there's those people, or I'm going to go write screenplays and I'm going to mooch off of somebody or starve or whatever. But what this process of and everything has taught me over the past 20 years of my writing career is that artists tend to not plan for financial situations. And that's one of the things that I am really focused on right now, is being financially independent. And that doesn't mean rich. I'm not saying that I'm going to be this millionaire, and that's great if it happens. It's not really my goal, but really understanding financial independence is something that I recommend for all artists, because to have to depend solely on one stream of income and hoping that it's going to be the one thing that makes or breaks you is scary. And I think that a lot of artists are like, oh, well, money will come when it comes, but you can't think like that. You do have to think like a business owner, even as an artist. And so for me, to answer your question, 5 years from now, I imagine that I'm writing screenplays and that I have the income that I need in order to support that. So whether I'm selling a screenplay or whether I'm writing it because somebody is buying it from me, none of that matters. I would just like to be writing screenplays. That would be like an amazing, amazing place to be in, and to be financially independent as well.
I have 100% faith that in 5 years from now, I will look you up and you will be doing exactly what you just said you will be doing.
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that. Well, I have one question for you before we go, and that is, while you were writing the chapter for the compilation book From Us for You, while you were writing your chapter, was there one thing? Could you tell us one thing maybe that you learned about yourself?
And I felt like there was more than one thing, honestly. But what stands out to me in this moment is just how much I really enjoy the creative writing process. There's just something about that. Writing that reinvigorated me. And I thought that I was just fine because I could write anything and be excited about it. It's fine. I have no issues with that. And I'm so grateful for all the projects that come my way. But working on that particular project felt very creative, and it sparked something on the inside of me and reinvigorated me to want to do more of my own personal projects. And that's what it did. I don't know if that's inspiring or not, but I know that's one of the things that did for me. And I love the creative process, and it doesn't matter. I see now that and I'm bringing up money once again because money was a huge issue for me back when I first started. Because I'm like, I'm gonna make millions. I'm gonna sell the screenplay and make millions. And I was always connecting the money with the screenwriting. I'm not saying that you can't make a living doing what you do, but this process just reminded me of just the joy of writing and not thinking about money. And maybe it's because it's not an issue for me at this exact moment, but it reminded me of the joy and the fun that writing brings to me. So that's what I really got out of it. And it was fun. It was fun. And it actually helped me to, to recalculate some of my goals for this year. So I'm so grateful to you that you,
Awesome.
you invited me to do this, because it was wonderful. It just reminded me of how joyful writing actually is. And even though I didn't think I forgot that it was, it really did.
Well, that's fabulous. I love hearing that. That's better than, oh, it was terrible. But
Oh
so
no, it was so exciting.
I appreciate. I'm glad that you shared that with us, and I'm glad it was an exercise that really kind of gave you something as well, because I can't wait to share your story. You are a fabulous writer, and I wanted to include more, but it's like, well, I got to hone that down. But I could see
I
that
think
you
3,000 words is what we needed to cut, right?
Yeah. You write beautifully. So,
thank you.
But thank you so much for talking with Melissa and I today. I'm excited for people to see your chapter and everybody else's chapter. So thank you for joining us. And
thank you both. Thank you. I appreciate you both.
Absolutely. So, and thank you for watching the interview today. And if you would like, please share it. And you can find more information about the book From Us For You by going to our website, FromUsForYou.com. So thank you so much, and make it a hopeful day. Thank you.